Yo, what's up, guys? Coming at you with a Thymesia No Hit guide. I've done a couple of guides before, mainly on Sekiro. So I just got this run 2 days ago, so I figured I'd make a guide for it because I didn't see any guides. I had to reference a lot of videos, but I didn't see any actual guides, so I figured I'd be the first to make a no-hit guide for Thymesia. So you're gonna hit new game. That is left out here, I guess, because I cropped the recording wrong, but you're gonna hit new game and you're gonna start like immediately right here. You're gonna pick up that item. Actually, first, there's a couple important notes that I feel like I should mention. In this run, you only level the plague stat. You don't have to worry about your R1 damage, mainly because your deflect also deals R1 damage, or I guess your white damage. So that's about that's about the, I mean, that is the only thing you level. The main stuff that comes in this run that like boosts your damage and stuff, that's going to be through your skills or your talents is what this game calls it. And another note is you only get 6 deflect frames in this game, so you have to be really precise with your deflects. If you're coming from something like Sekiro, you have 12 parry frames, but in this game you only have 1/10 of a second to parry an attack, as long as you're on, 60 frames per second. You just come up here and you R1 this guy 5 times. I have had a couple times where he hits me out of it. I didn't find a way to avoid that. It was very rare. I think it happened twice. But other than that, he's perfectly consistent. Pick up the... I believe you get 4 items in this area. 7 R1s to that guy, and then pick up that. And you come up here, and the left guy is the one you want to kill, so I tend to bait this one out to do an attack. Or on the right, I tend to bait him out to do an attack. But I also go in sometimes and just dodge away. There's really no, like, surefire way to avoid that. You can't just go up and kill it consistently. Another thing that this game does that's very fucking annoying is that it gives you your tutorial pop-ups no matter what playthrough you're on, so you just have to deal with it. It's very irritating, and it also ties the tutorial pop-ups to the thing that you're trying to unlock. So if it gives you your deflect tutorial pop-up, that's whenever you get your deflect. Or the claw, that's why you can't claw the lady you kill for the key back there, because you don't have it yet. You open the door and then you get claw because of the tutorial pop-up. So here you go up to this guy, and I think I normally wait. Sometimes I R1 him, it doesn't really matter. But you don't actually do any R1s to this guy. So this guy's really, really tricky. The best thing that I can do to describe him is that you just wait for an attack. He gives you an attack, you do a claw immediately, and then on the circle attacks that he does, there's a left side and there's a right side. If he goes on the right side, he's going to do an overhead after your claw, so you have to parry that. And if he goes on the left side, then he's going to do a feather attack, which is like your thrusts in this game. I kind of like take it as, which you just use your feathers for. So you press circle, I believe is the default button. I could be wrong. And it does the feather. I'd changed my keybinds around, so I'm not really sure what it used to be. I think it's circle though, unless that was dash. I don't know. Whatever it's binded to, just use the feather on the correct timing. So he does this to the right, I claw, he does an overhead. And it'll always be that. Parry that, claw. Parry that, claw. Which you don't have to do an R1 here. I did it. It's risky though. You don't. I recommend not clawing him, or not doing an R1 after the claw, because he can immediately deflect you and then do like an instant shove that you can't deflect. So I recommend just not R1ing him. And sometimes I just did it to be like style points, I guess. It's also faster. Pick up that item next to the coffin, and you have to kill this Varg guy. Even though it's a scripted death, you have to kill him. It's the exact same fight as the end of the game. The only difference is that you only have 1 claw because you don't have the long claw skill yet. So there's not mainly any notes. The only thing that I do for this opener is just backstep and parry. It's much more consistent than actually parrying it. So you just do a claw and then a few R1s. Whenever he jumps away, you can claw to close distance. That's something I realized closer to the end of running this. You wait for his combos to run out. You can get in an R1 mainly like in the middle, but don't do any claws, I would say. And then just after the combo's done, do a claw. He's pretty self-explanatory. Is pretty self-explanatory. His timings are very telegraphed. His timings are perfectly telegraphed. There's only one move that he does, which is the opener that he gave that has in like weird timing, but that's about it. Yeah, just do your claws, few R1s. If he hops away, and just do a claw to close distance. It's perfectly consistent. I've never died to doing it. I guess I can move my mouse. He takes a little bit just because of how you don't have long claw. I guess long claw V2, which I think gives you the extra claw. And then you'll go to the tutorial area and you'll pick up a couple items there. One thing that I was curious about whenever I was first routing this is why people pick up the lore tablets. The lore tablets give you 100 souls each. Or not souls, I guess they're called memories in this game. You'll spam through this dialogue. Don't spam too quick whenever you are first getting up to it. I would wait for your character's animation to stop walking. Because in this game, if you spam dialogue too fast, your game can just freeze. It's very, very infuriating, but it can just happen. Yeah, just go around picking up these items. No biggie. And here, I believe I take a pee break. Yeah, and then you just run back up. Into the sea of trees. This area is very consistent. I never really had any issues with this area at all. The only thing that can be kind of scary is after this part where you run up and there's two enemies in this next room up that bridge. But I can explain that here in just a second. So these guys with the axe, just attack them twice and then do a claw, they'll die. And then I go into this corner a little bit, parry her, and then do a claw. And that guy tends to stop his aggro, or sometimes he doesn't aggro, but other times he does aggro. There's not really anything consistent to avoid it. So in that case, he's going to be running up to you. I say just dodge behind him. If he does a sprint attack, he'll do 2 attacks, so just watch out for that. But if he's standing still and doesn't attack, it'll only be 1. Strafe that guy to the left or the right. He'll always do a kick right there, and then just grab this, grab that item. And those girls, you can just run past them on either side. They won't ever hit you. And you'll notice some of these lore tablets don't actually have an item, and that's because the items are duplicates. And I didn't understand that for the longest time. I was like, why is this guy able to pick up this item, but it's not there for me? It's just because I had already picked it up in the previous section. They just duplicate, which is odd, but it is what it is. There's going to be an item on the left here, and then you'll use all of your items. I believe it'll be either 13 or 14. There was a couple times where I had it be 13, and I'm not really sure why. I probably just missed a pickup, and then you'll level up to level 5, and you'll get quick dodge, long claw, and then both the saber boosters, or like your weapons. I'll show you these two. Yeah, quick dodge, long claw, and then both of those attacks. You'll go in, you'll open with 5 hits, and then do a claw. He'll always do this as an opener. You can get in 3 attacks there, and then parry that twice, claw. And then this is such an annoying attack because the timings are just so odd, but you'll eventually get used to it. Parry as late as possible. And then he's dead. There is one attack that he can do. He'll do like a backhand. He'll come around from this side and sweep underneath. And on that, the hitbox is really terrible. What you're looking to parry is on his come up. So like he'll come up, and then that's whenever you parry. It's a very annoying attack to get used to. Just parry early. That's the best advice that I can give you. Parry early for it, and then you'll eventually get the timing down and it'll be fine. His hitboxes are really jank. And then it doesn't mix well with, having only 6 parry frames. But it is what it is. Come up, attack this guy 3 times. and then do an R2. And pick up this lore tablet. Bait this guy's kick out. 2 R1s and a claw. And then this next part, I believe, is consistent, but it's possible he can attack you, I guess. I'd never had it happen. But if you just dash through all this, up here, there's going to be an enemy with an item right there. If you go around to the right and just circle left, I don't believe he can hit you. It's probably possible, but it would be a very rare chance, and I don't think it's anything to worry about. And just follow this pathing down. If the quality is bad on this, I do apologize. I was recording through Metal, and the quality just isn't great because I just have it as like a background recording software. But you'll get the general idea. And you'll come up, you'll rest at this beacon, use your, I believe, 3 items, and you'll get Long Claw V3. That just gives you more damage on your claw, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, only parry or only level Plague, and then get Long Claw V3. You don't level any other stat. This guy's pretty self-explanatory. There's a couple things that I will mention though that just was more consistent for me. Just stand here and wait, and he'll always do the triple attack opener. I never had him do anything else. 2 claws. He'll go for this. It's a double. 2 kicks and then an R1, and then you'll only do 1 claw there, because he can't immediately start up another attack if you do 2. You can do 2 technically, but he'll just start his attack early, so it's going to be hard to see. So just only do 1 attack and then do an R1. It's the triple, double, 2 claws, and then he's dead. So phase 2 will start, and you'll do 3 dashes forward, and then just wait for the feathers around him to hit the ground. There's gonna be feathers right here. As soon as that hits the ground, you can move. Just go about halfway to him, and then on this, you'll just walk left or right. It doesn't matter. And you can also dash them if you find that better, and you can also deflect them. This, what I did is I just did 3 back steps. I don't know if there's any other consistent way to deal with this, but that's just what I found to be the most consistent. The timing is a little bit tricky. Then you just walk right on that. I dashed there just because it was late. So he'll teleport to the side and he'll do 5 attacks here. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then just dash that to the right. That timing is a little bit tricky as well, but you'll get used to it eventually. This is the 5-piece. Double. R1. Only 1. And then he's dead. Easy. And then use the claw here. The like when you hold R2, you'll use like a weapon steal. It's important because of a strat we use later. You'll get miasma from it, which is a one of these abilities right here. And I'll show you that section here in a little bit. Wait for this character to stop walking before you initiate the dialogue, because the game freeze will happen here as well. So as soon as, if she's walking and you initiate the dialogue, your game can just crash. Or not crash, it'll freeze and you'll have to Alt F4. But if you wait till she's done, I don't believe it can happen. So you'll have to go back to the main hub world here. And then you just go to the next area. The next area is also pretty consistent. There's a couple things that I will mention though. Just things that I found to be the most consistent. But I will show you that in just a second. So you'll skip this beacon. Run past this enemy. He won't ever attack you. I've never had him attack me even once. And then just run past this. Even if he's hugging that wall, I don't believe he can attack you either. This is very important here. He's gonna charge at you, and this charge does not have a hitbox. Only the shield bash has a hitbox. So you dash the shield bash, not his charge. If you dash his charge, you have a chance to get roll trapped. So only dash the shield hitbox. His charge itself does not have a hitbox, which is something that took me a while to understand because I was always getting hit out of it. Run in between these two guys. You can also run right of him. It doesn't really matter. And then this guy up here, you'll just bait. So you go up to about this grass patch here, he'll aggro, and then just run backward, and when he's done, just run ahead. I don't think he can attack you after. At least I would say I'm 100% certain he can attack you after, because it would have happened to me. Go around the left, pick up this item. And it's safe to run through there. Bait this guy, he'll do 2 attacks. And then you'll have to run past this guy. This one's pretty close, just because he has a bigger shield, but it should be consistent. Just dash as late as possible. Pick up that item in the bookcase. And then here, you pretty much just hug the right side. And you'll come up in this little curved part here, and then you'll hug the wall next to that bookcase that's on a tilt, and you'll just wait for his 2 attacks to be done, and then you'll just run through. That guy won't ever aggro to you, which is why we take that path instead of going through the middle. And then here you will get Perfectionist, which is in the Strategies tab, and you'll get Full Winged. Or not, no, you get Perfectionist and Precise Deflect, sorry. And then here, I believe there's I think 3 different openers. He can do a jump, which he'll just land on your face that you parry. He'll do a scream attack, which is like an AoE. You'll have to dodge it even if you're far away. And then he can do like a long crawl, which is the most inconsistent. You'll have to find the proper timing for it. I ended up just thinking like I can parry his head instead of his claw, and it tend to work better. But it is a very sketchy opener. And I just make sure to practice the openers because it's the hardest part about this fight. Just because long range on this guy is not good. He does a jump, just parry it. And you can always do 2 claws after an attack. Do an R1 there, parry it, and then do 2 claws. So if he attacks with his head on the left side there... Hold on. 1 second. He'll attack with his head, and if he comes from the left side, he won't do a follow-up, but if he does the bite attack from the right side, he'll do a follow-up from the left. So he does a bite, 2 claws, slam, 2 claws, parry, R1, parry, 2 claws, 2 claws, and then you can R2 to close distance, or I guess claw to close distance, which is better than dashing, just because you get more DPS in. And you'll spam parry here, and then he'll always go up, parry it, 2 claws. This fight's probably the easiest one in the run. The hardest part is definitely just the openers. And then whenever he gets long range like that, it's a little tricky, but if you practice the openers, then you'll be fine. So he'll go away here and he'll start doing the blood draw again. And you'll just attack until you can't attack anymore. You'll be able to attack again. And then at that point you just do 2 claws. Parry, R1, parry, 2 claws. So this fight is pretty much a DPS race, because if he heals 3 times, after the 3rd time, he will do a big AoE whenever he goes up into the air. In that AoE, you have to go into the arena, and the crystals that he spawns after the second heal, you have to hide behind one of those crystals, and then wait for the AoE to go off. It'll break the crystal and not hit you, and then you just close in again. You want to kill him before that, because A, you'll be at long range, and B, you won't necessarily always be close to a crystal, because he also breaks them. So it's just very important to be fast for this fight, because if that happens, you're not necessarily dead, but it is a harder thing to deal with. So if that does happen, just hide behind one of the crystals and then close in whenever the crystal breaks. And here, like I said, just make sure that she's fully stopped walking. And then we go into Hermes Fortress. And then here, you'll get the first beacon, and you'll get Feather Dash and Full Winged, which are both in the Feather tab. The reason we get Full Winged is because we have 5 feathers that we can use, and then Feather Dash makes it to where you can use a feather, and then whenever you use it again, you dash toward an enemy, which is important for this area, and I'll show you why. Full Winged, Feather Dash. You'll go up to this guy, feather him twice, you'll dash straight towards him. 2R1s, claw. This guy, bait out an attack. 2 feathers, 2R1s, claw. And then after you get up this ladder, this is where we use that miasma we get from Odor. So you'll use that ability right at the top of the staircase, and then you'll just spam dash through everything here. The arrows won't hit you, nothing will hit you. Stop at that ledge because you can't dash off of it, and then just continue. So whenever you're about halfway through this room, you'll stop, and then you'll dash this guy's shield. If you dash through the whole place, his AI will get weird, and he won't be able to track you, so you can just get hit even if he's like looking away from you. It's really shit. But just do that, and you should be fine. Bait out an attack from this guy. Do 2 feathers, 2 R1s, and a claw. And then this enemy coming up is going to be really, really, really difficult. I would say he's probably the 2nd hardest fight in the run. And he's just like a normal like trash mob. He's an elite, I guess you could say, but he's like not a boss. He's a Twin Sword Timmy. Very, very, very difficult. Most of my hits and my PBs were to this guy. You get past this guy, it's pretty much a straight shot until Corvus. So come up, I tend to wait in the middle so he's on flat ground. Use a feather to aggro him so he walks toward you instead of just looking around for 5 years. This attack, he'll do a poke from the left. You'll parry the poke, parry the follow-up, and then it's 2 consecutive parries after that. And then just spam twice, and then 2 claws. This attack, do not punish after, because he can immediately start that same attack again. 2. 1, 2, 3. Don't punish. 1, 2, 1, 2. Does he not do the other attack in this run? Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Those are the 3 attacks that he can do. If you end up fighting him for longer, he can do like a like 10 combo attack. If he goes down and just sits there for like 2 seconds, just run away. It will have a lot of distance to it, so you have to back up pretty far. But it shouldn't happen with the amount of DPS you have. If you're doing something like FL1, it should, or it probably will happen. In that case, just like outspace it. It's a 10-hit combo. It's very scary, but just you don't have to parry it. You can just run away. So I take this path here because it's much more consistent. Because if you take this straight middle path, there's a archer, and then there's an enemy directly next to the archer that has a spear. And trying to avoid both of those guys' attacks is just really flat out awful. Plunge attack that guy, and then just dash through here. hug either side here. I mean hug left there, and then I hug the right side up here, because if you hug the left side here, there's a tree that can get in your way, and it's just not fun to have to walk around. And then here you'll rest. Don't get any skills. I look at something here, and you'll just go through the boss. You won't necessarily always have a level up point there, but just use it if you do. You can also skip that beacon, and it's fine. It's not an issue either way. So in here, this is just like the normal fight. The only thing that's different is phase 2, he can do a what's it called? I guess I'll call it a perilous attack. It's not perilous, but it's ones that you can't dodge, or the one that you can't iframe or parry. You have to outspace. I'll just show you how to deal with that. This is the same fight as earlier. Phase 1 is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is you have 2 claws now instead of 1. There's no real, like, things to mention here. You just gotta fight him, learn the timings, etc. You fight this guy twice, so he should be really consistent by the time you get here in the end game on a live run. So in phase 2, he has one separate attack. It's a backhand, and he has the AoE. He'll always start with the AoE, or it's not an AoE, sorry, perilous attack. You can stand next to him and just dash completely to the left of him, or you can also back away. So the backhand is probably the hardest attack that he can do. That move right there, because it's different timing than the other backhand. It's slower, so you just have to parry later. So it kind of like tricks you. So if he does a slam into a backhand, then only claw 1 time. And I hope he does it here to show you. So if he slams, oh yeah, he didn't do the backhand. That's not what I'm talking about by the backhand, by the way. I'm talking about the single backhand. Not that's in that 3 combo. So he didn't do that, but if he does a slam and then does a backhand, only use a claw 1 time because she'll follow up with a poke. That's the other important note there. That's the only time you don't punish twice. And then here, just go to Corvus. You'll get Precise Deflect 2, so you can parry the feather attacks, and then you'll get Growing Feathers, which allows you to recover a feather every 8 seconds. Instead of, I believe, 12 seconds? I could be wrong. But feathers are very important for this fight because he does a lot of those special attacks. I just sit here and dilly-daddle for a minute, making sure I had everything. Corvus is probably the hardest fight. He's very, very hard. A lot of his timings are really difficult to master, especially with only 6 parry frames. So you'll go in, immediately run to the right. And I started doing that on the 2nd day. It took me about 4 days to no-hit this game. And I never had any other opener if I just run in right. If you stand still, he can do the claw attack. So let me restart the fight now that I'm not yapping. So backstep that, do 2 claws. It's a 6-hit combo. Feather here, 2 claws. Feather here, 2 claws. Feather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Feather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In second phase, you can have a follow-up there, but that's only 1 for the first phase. He should always start with this move. I never had him start with anything else. Parry that. 2 claws. I didn't do 2 claws because I was backing away from the wall. I just don't feel comfortable fighting them next to a wall. One, 2, 3, 4. Does that follow up? Only do one claw here. I parry 3 times there because it can hit you before. 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 claws. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Only punish once there. And then the fight's done. Once you learn those timings, it's not terrible. The fight's really difficult, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Once you practice it enough. There's a couple memes that can happen. The biggest meme that I can think of is whenever he does that dash to the side attack, and then it's like the 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. I can see if I can try to find it. I think he did it in phase 2. It's this move right here, after the claws. Sometimes, instead of dashing right, see how he dashes past you? That dash does not have a hitbox. Do not parry that dash. Because sometimes he'll be like right here, and he'll dash into your face instead of dashing around to the right. And if you try to parry his dash whenever it comes to you, you won't be able to deflect the second because the window isn't big enough. So you'll just get hit. That's very important to know because that was the biggest thing that I was worried about in this fight. It's very terrible, and it's the worst attack that he can do. But just make sure to not parry his dash. If you don't get into that habit right away, it'll be perfectly fine. If he dashes toward you, don't parry until he attacks you with an R1. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. You said. Yeah, that's Thymesia for you. It's like a 30-minute run. It's very it's difficult in the sense that you have 6 parry frames and there's no scripts or anything. It's just brute force. But when you get the bosses consistent, it's not terrible. If you have any questions, let me know. I can post my Discord link in the description, along with my username. You can add me. If you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I didn't run this game for too long. I ran it for 4 days, and that's pretty much all the information that I have on this game. Like I said, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. Won't be a problem. I respond to my DMs as long as you're not an emote bot. But yeah, enjoy Thymesia and have fun no-hitting. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye.